In 2018, the Persona dance games grabbed me by the neckline and pulled me into a rhythm game obsession. I played them all religiously and platinumed each of the three, twice. There was a time where I could close my eyes and see the inputs. Going to bed was a heck of a time. Since then, I've picked up loads of rhythm games like Elite Beat Agents, Final Fantasy Theater Rhythm, Beat Saber, and so many more. The Parappa videos on this channel have been a staple, with the Lammy video being my biggest hit. I played those games and talked about them because I was really needing a break between long JRPGs. And now, I think it's time to bust through some more backlog. Here are 5 rhythm games not enough people talk about. Gal Metal is a drum game that attempts to be incredibly in-depth. It was published and developed by DMM Games, with Tak Fuji as the director. His musical inclinations are what pushed this game to be what it is, with influence that range between Dragon Force to baby metal. There's a lot of information to be found in his interview with NicheGamer.com, so I'll be inserting snippets as we go. In order to be as true to a real band playing, they go as far as inserting instrument brands like ESP, Roland, Yamaha, and the works. They do this because, as Fuji says, this is a real music game. I don't want to put fake instruments in it. When people think of the Switch Joy-Cons, they think of a headache, either because of the drift issue that still persists to this day, or the irritation of the Joy-Con reading your movement wrong. Gal Metal hinges on the Joy-Cons working properly, and even with a calibration feature, the Joy-Cons can still massively hinder the experience. The intended playstyle has the right Joy-Con being the kick drum, and the left being the snare, while swinging both is the cymbal crash. In my footage, you'll see how it takes me a lot of time to get through the practice stage, and that's because while I swear I'm swinging at the right time, the game either picks up on it twice, or only inputs it after a heavy delay. This issue wouldn't happen if we were physically tapping a button, like let's say, on a rubber-coated drum kit. Plus, there's a good chance the audio delay is the culprit, and the game comes right out to tell you that you should keep the Switch docked and simply plug in headphones. Unless the player is a musician and has one of those 6-foot audio cord extensions like I do, there's no way that's functional or comfy. With that being said, Gal Metal offers a very intense alternate control scheme, where all the buttons on a controller are needed. This offers a plethora of sounds to your toolkit, and I think I liked this a boatload more. Koji realized that when developing a game so focused on drumming, a lot of people won't be drummers, nor will they be musicians. This means they won't understand how to read notes, and so instead of doing the rock band style of hitting buttons as they come, the game just shows you a few simple playing patterns and lets you go at it. If you know, you know, but because the BPM of the songs is on the lower end, you won't be able to play too heavy, and that means no 16th notes. The lack of visual cues is odd at first, but it ends up being very freeing. You can really play however you want, so as long as the rhythm or flow of your little jam session lines up alright with the other instruments, you'll get a high combo and knock out some aliens. And yes, I said aliens. It's time we talk about a real highlight of this game, and that's the overall style and its storytelling. The plot kicks off with a boy and girl who get captured by aliens who want to take over the world. The only thing that can stop them is metal music. Just like half of the adults I know, it probably sounds grating to their freakish alien eardrums. Oh, was that insensitive? To make matters worse, the boy and girl conjoin, with the boy taking over the girl's body, though she does keep persistent in his mind to help the pretense that she's still the same at school, and at her club. She just happens to be a part of a metal group. Go figure. Even with the wild situation at hand, her group of girls are actually very down-to-earth about the whole alien thing and agree to fight with the power of music. I'm just glad it's not the power of friendship. Very tired of that trope. Obviously, the manga panel style is striking and a breath of fresh air. It moves fluidly, and the dialogue is written in a way that's not boring to read, without relying on being hilarious every other second with stupid quips or cliches. The narrative gets the job done, even in interesting visual gags, like how we text on a phone and send emojis back to each other. I also got a kick out of the way they send messages in real time, unless you're slamming the A button. Beside the bits of visual novel, you'll get to choose what to do between big performances. For one, you can practice new patterns of drumming, get a part-time job, go to class, see a movie, and more. This is all to increase stats, which the game calls an affinity system. They break this down into morality, kivit, guts, activity, and passion. In simple terms, your action, like playing well, getting closer to friends, or being at the right place at the right time, rewards you with harder rhythms to learn, and the like. I find it especially cool that the main artist is Aoki, better known for his Pokemon card art during the Neo Revelation set. His Ampharos has been my favorite for quite some time. The way he draws humans, though, it's got a sloppy cuteness to it. Definitely not moe, definitely not shonen. And the color choices are way more muted than something you typically see in a Japanese audience-focused rhythm game. It lends itself well to the more gritty nature of metal. You know, there's a lot about gal metal that reminds me of what I love about Jam or Lammy. Part of that is the style, the animation, the character design, just the whole aesthetic is so true to itself. If there's anything I can truly compliment the game on, it's that it really does its own thing. Lammy is a game less about following the prompts and more about playing your own song. You can use pedals, you can freestyle, you can do whatever you want, but you're rewarded for making it work, not just slamming buttons. Gal metal is the same, and that's what I came away with enjoying the most. It's really fun to play the drums both in real life and in a video game. Yes, there are stupid decisions in the controls, but take it less seriously and just enjoy the ride. If you're interested, it goes for less than $20 physically, but just remember that it's only on the Switch. While we're talking about the Switch and Joy-Cons, I finally played Taiko no Tatsujin Rhythm Festival. The Tatsujin game started back in 2001, and while I've seen some of those PS2 drum kits, I've never gotten my hands on one. It wasn't until 2018, while I was perusing the Switch store, and saw Drum & Fun, which I got addicted to and forced my friends into also buying just so I could indulge in playing Let It Go about 900 times. Yes, I was a Frozen addict at one time. I may not be proud of it, but have you seen Elsa? Anyway, the newest Rhythm Festival is seriously based. However, the Joy-Con control style can absolutely get wrecked, with similar reasons as to what I said in the gal metal section. It just ain't it. Luckily for us, you can play with a superior controller. A lot of times in marketing for these games, you'll see two little drums that kinda look like sushi. Dawn has the red face, and while the game really lets you choose what buttons do what, the easy way for me to remember is making red the bottom buttons on the D-pad. So, down and B. Katsu has the blue face, and I use the top bumpers. As the screen scrolls, you'll see the blue and red notes. The average size just means one button, the bigger size means two buttons. There are also things like balloons that you can spam either the blue or red on until it bursts and gives you a big bonus. This specific Taiko game has a lot of different little icons to memorize, but I promise, it becomes very easy after a handful of rounds. And the game does a great job explaining how to play with the simple tutorial. Rhythm Festival is different though. In the past releases, it seemed that playing the fun little song is sort of all there is. Sure, there were lots to unlock like outfits, different drum sounds, effects, possible mini-games, and so on. But now this game is a whole new beast. There's a heavier emphasis on story, believe it or not, and it uses past characters and gives them a whole new life. The main bulk of the game is the free play sections, where you choose from 77 songs, some new, some old. You'll see songs from video games like Persona 5, you'll see classic Beethoven, you'll see anime tracks, Billie Eilish, Vocaloid, just so many. It's jam-packed, and you can even get a music pass, which unlocks every song from the previously mentioned Drum & Fun release, as well as even older games. That means there are nearly 500 songs accessible. As you go through the free play sections, you get coins, but also Taiko points. Taiko points are what you use to continue the story mode, get exclusive items, watch a little cutscene, and do extra challenges. It's an interesting thing, and I liked that it's separate from the stuff most people go to Taiko for, which is just playing around. With that being said, there's also Taiko Land, accessible on the menu, where you use toys to battle enemies as you play through a song. These toys are upgradable, and there are many to buy, and what they do varies. For example, the unicorn blocks the screen so the other player might miss a few notes. Some of them are downright cruel, like randomly speeding up or slowing down your song. It's a really fun little mode, but my favorite is the 4-player Ninja Dojo rounds. No, you don't need 4 real players online or in the room, but it's always a 4-player battle. In this one, they changed so much about what the Don and Katsu buttons look like, so it keeps you on your toes. They've got ninja stars, fire, bees, and moving robots. As you race the others, you'll get closer and closer to the right of the screen, and sometimes that's a bad thing, because you can miss easier that way, making it a more valid move to try and just do well enough that you're safe before whipping the other's booties right at the end. I also can't not talk about how awesome the graphics are here. The backgrounds are moving, the characters are vibing, the notes are flying, it's all just so vivid. And I love the line art so much. The sound effects are properly fun and lively without irritating you, and the music selection, again, is outrageously vast. It's the perfect place to start your Taiko addiction. Or is it? I see a lot of people on Reddit and such that get down on this game because it is a live service model. That DLC I mentioned, the huge plethora of purchasable songs, you can get a music pass or download them one by one. See, in Japan, this is more understandable because they have real arcade versions that get updated pretty often. We don't have that luxury, and Taiko is nowhere near as popular here as it is there. They always get the good stuff. Anyway, this does mean that a lot of the licensed songs can get removed over time, making it so that you can't purchase it later, and the bigger fear, that even if you buy them, in major quotes, they can get blocked. Even though it's $4 to get the pass, it's $4 per month. So it's not meant to be permanently in your game. Scary stuff. But I do think it's worth it even if you're only going to play the game for a week out of the month. Just don't forget to drop it afterwards. The other sore topic was the $50 price tag. When I got my copy, it was at a Walmart new for a crisp $20. That's very doable for me. The downside there is that Switch is the only platform it's physical on, and while it goes for $15 used, if you want it on the Xbox or PlayStation, you'll pay $50 for a digital game and wait who knows how long for a sale. That is why I can't stand digital game purchases. I'm gonna stick to my guns and say, play it however you can. Continuing with the 8th generation of consoles, I'm throwing a curveball at you with Kingdom Hearts Melody of Memories. In an old video, I admitted to the fact that I am not a Kingdom Hearts girly. It's never been my thing, no matter how hard I try, yet I still buy almost every single stupid game that releases. This one I came across for a striking $9 2 months after it was released in 2020 at the Walmart outside of Six Flags. Strangely specific, I know. Melody of Memories stands out in the Kingdom Hearts catalog because it is a true rhythm game, created by the same team that made the awesome Final Fantasy Theat rhythm games. I gotta point out that in the loading screens, the characters straight up turn into their Final Fantasy models, and it's a fine touch. The story is like a really long rewind reel of Sora and friends from not just Kingdom Hearts 1 to 3, but all the other games in between. It's supposed to focus on the little girl they never know what to do with, Kairi, having her narrate what's going on in the cutscene flashbacks, but the kicker is that this is yet another Kingdom Hearts game that's canon, because there's a final scene that's made just for this game, which will supposedly lead into whatever the hell Kingdom Hearts 4 is gonna be. I give up on trying to fully understand any of it anymore. I just don't care. But what I do care about is the bombastic mix of Enix music and Disney tracks. The main mode of the game is called World Tour, where you drive the gummy ship between places and play a couple songs in each one. As you play, you get stars based on how well you do in the challenges they set in order to get enough stars to move on to a new world. Your camera view during gameplay is behind your team of 3. The first set being Sora, Donald, and Goofy, to Team Days with Roxas, Team 3D with Riku, and Team BBS with Aqua. There are also guest characters like Aladdin and Hercules, but that's only on their specific maps. Oh, and did you notice Kairi isn't playable in the game they market as her game? Yeah, what a surprise. There are actually only 5 buttons to use, with some even being interchangeable. The bumpers and X are what you mainly use, and these are the attack buttons. As you move forward on the automatic path, there are boxes and enemies to hit in time with the music. 3 characters hit things, but any of those 3 buttons work, and sometimes you have to hit all 3 of them at once. Then there's Circle, which allows Sora or the middle character to jump, and if you hold the button, you can glide through the green music notes. There's also Triangle, which is used to hit crystals that knock characters out into the background. If you miss these things, there's a health bar that will go down until you're knocked out, but as you progress, you can synthesize items to heal with, on top of other fancy things that help you get through tougher levels. One of the most interesting things visually is the boss fights, because the stage that you're used to playing on goes 2D and swirls around your characters as they fight. It's a nice switch up and keeps things fresh, because this is somehow a 10-hour long game, if not 50 if you're trying to 100% it. I don't even know why you'd want to commit that much time to a rhythm game. I made it to 5 hours and tapped out, if I'm honest. They do try to make it a very complicated game outside of the actual stages, but there's a lot to unlock in the museum, lots of items to find, different difficulties to try, and more. I personally don't feel invested enough to get fancy JPEGs of older games, but you do you, boo. Back to what I enjoy, the musica. Some of the tracks fit with the prompts so well that I was rocking my whole body with the music. A standout to me was This Is Halloween. Boy oh boy, so fun. But all of the music in Kingdom Hearts is incredible. I really enjoyed listening back and interacting with the music closer. And they did a great job with these simplified 3D backgrounds with assets that look ripped right out of the PS4 collections. I really think the game looks great, and the audio mixing between sound effects and music is set just right, with neither pulling attention from the other. It's not a game I need to play again, and that's okay. I like the time I put into it. Like all the Kingdom Hearts games at this point, they're made for people who have an intense love of the series, and so if that's you, go play this, because we're past the point of it being $50, thank goodness. It's digital on Xbox and physical on PlayStation and Switch, and they go for less than $20. That's a price worth paying. We are now at the second to last game, that being Donkey Konga. Bust out those bongos and go to town. There has yet to be a controller that comes close to being this unhinged. Remember the slew of Smash players using them? What a time. Ooh, yeah. Konga was released at the tail end of 2003, meaning that it had been multiple years since Rare made the last true platformer in the series, Donkey Kong 64. At that time, Microsoft bought Rare, so the fact that Nintendo followed up with a rhythm game of all things is pretty baffling. Yet, it really works, and spawned a sequel and a platformer using the bongos. But today I'm only getting into the OG. So the bongos have a microphone in the center and two big pads to slap. There are smaller buttons toward the bottom of the pads, but whether you hit those or the larger section doesn't seem to matter. The left side of the bongo is for the yellow prompts, right is for blue, both pads are pink, and the weird jagged blue means a clap. At first the clap is a little awkward because it feels like you have to clap really loud or fast enough to then slap the bongos again, and it becomes real fun getting those primal instincts out and about. But then, you get confident, you decide to do a challenge. This entails playing all 35 songs in a row, and then the clapping that was once a sleigh becomes a huge slog, and a drain from your total lifespan. What's worse, you get hardly any points for doing so. There's a shop where you can get minigames like Bash K Rule, a glorified whack-a-mole. There are sound effects that you can change the bongos to, and if you want to play in the hardest difficulty, Gorilla Mode, you have to buy the songs to be able to access them. Yet everything in the shop is so expensive, like multiple hundreds of thousands of coins, and yeah, that 30-minute run only got me around 100. It was the biggest joy killer of all. With that being said, the gameplay itself is enjoyable, but in small doses. The actual tracks are pretty fantastic, going from nursery rhymes to Zelda's theme song to What I Like About You. Now, with the licensed songs, there's no way they were paying for something like a real Queen song, so they have shortened versions with cover artists. Who these people are, I couldn't tell you, because they don't have credits from what I could find. Most of them do a great job, while some of them feel a little heavy-handed. Pretty much all of them play well, though, with good patterns to practice without getting too undoable. It can get pretty hectic with a slew of inputs coming at you, but practice makes perfect. The game also offers an interesting freestyle mode, where instead of specific notes being shown during a song's run, barrels appear, leaving it up to you to hit whatever notes you're capable of. This is good for people having a tough time, as well as for people who are tired of the claps. There's also a straight-up 4-player jam session where you can do whatever you want, but that'd be a lot of bongos, and a lot more people than I can force into playing. Again, many of the songs are good, but some of them are definitely intended for really little kids, and that's just not my vibe. If you're curious, the track list between us, the UK, and Japan is wildly different. So, if you're someone with a hacked cube or some other way of playing those, I think that'd be pretty cool. If you were to get a US copy, it'd cost you around $15, and the bongos are usually around $30 to $40 out of box. If you go imported, though, both things are cheaper, but not for long given the state of importing. With how cheap it is to get into compared to other retro market stuff, I think getting the bongos is actually affordable and worth it. Jungle Beat and Konga 2 are equally cheap, and so why not? I'm a little younger than most of the diehard audience for Fooly Cooly, but it had a major effect on me. The struggle of growing up, dealing with people around you who you cannot control, fighting sexuality, and all of the other themes in the anime hit me at the right time. The other major takeaway from it comes with its alt-rock soundtrack by The Pillows. Last Dinosaur is an all-time favorite tune, and it actually got me way more interested in playing guitar than most other songs. Everything I love about FLCL is also in my favorite video game on the list, Gitaroo Man. I genuinely don't want to go too heavy into the story, the music, or anything that can spoil a possible first-time experience. The game is just that good, and so I'm going to try to sell you on it the best I can. Being released in 2002 outside of Japan, the game came out a year after the middling reviews of Parappa 2, which had very modestly upgraded graphics compared to its PS1 original. I still really like Parappa 2, and honestly, its themes of self-doubt are very close to that of U1, Gitaroo's main character. Parappa's colorful, bombastic cutscenes and huge musical genre variation are also something that can be compared here. With that being said, Gitaroo Man makes a major case for bold artistic choices, aging way better than realistic attempts at design. It's a beautiful game, and a popular visual artist who went by 326 would pull constant all-nighters to painstakingly create even the smallest of details. The determination in all of the team got development time cut to only 10 months. Putting that into perspective, it took Matsuda's Parappa team 5 years to release Parappa 2. Sure, Lammy came in between, but good lord. If you want to understand and appreciate how much detail went into Gitaroo Man, look no further than the second song titled Flying to Your Heart. It's a Eurobeat track, and the enemy robot is actually dancing in a Japanese style called para para. Then, in stage 3, titled BGM Blues, not only do the main songwriters from the band Coil play, but the director and a family member actually play the other instruments, which is why there's so much vibrancy and life. They share the spotlight perfectly. One of my favorite little facts about this game is that Coil actually recorded nearly all of the music on analog, and that means it's a whole lot harder to cut and splice if there's a screw-up during the recording process, making it feel like a real performance when recording. I think it pays off tenfold as a player. You know how in Parappa, if you mess up on a line, you get ugly chopped up vocals and interrupted background music? This game avoids that and slightly mutes, but you still get to enjoy the funky flow for however long it takes to whittle down the enemy health bar. The length of a song can even change depending on if you're playing especially well, and it can increase if you're totally blowing it, which is highly likely because this is one tough game. The main control style focuses on the left analog stick and the right face buttons. Luckily, the game has a really good tutorial because it is a very out-of-the-box control scheme. But basically, there's a blue line that shows up on the screen, and you have to aim the analog stick to be able to play the red bars, which you hit with circle. This seems easy at first, and gets wildly challenging by the third stage. When you're doing this, you're damaging the opponent, and when they damage you, you go into a screen where you have to hit any of the 4 face buttons as they get to the blue dot on the center of the screen. In the footage you're seeing, I'm only playing on normal mode. Hard mode looks like this. Yeah, girl, it gets real, and takes a whole lot of committed practice time. And one more time, I have to emphasize how beautiful the music is. I already mentioned Eurobeat, but there's Rodrigo y Gabriela style Spanish guitar, and industrial interludes, outright pop beats, all with entertaining patterns to learn. And there's epic 3D animations to gawk at. Like all cool thing, Gitaroo Man didn't sell well in any region, but a port got put out on the PSP, with the new title of Gitaroo Man Lives. It's the same game, but slightly easier. Just slightly. It has a fairly true to console graphic fidelity, and a bonus duet mode with a couple extra songs. This mode is meant for a second player to wirelessly join you, but that means 2 copies. Which brings me to the price points that really hit you in the gut. Gitaroo Man Lives costs $60 in the US and $40 in Japan. The upside is that most of the game is written in English and spoken in English, so instead of spending $130 for the PS2 game, you can spend $30 on the Japanese one. This game was printed in very low numbers in the US, and it actually got a small reprint in 2005, but that doesn't bode well for retro market prices, does it? If you get sucked into the characters and overall bizarro quality of the Gitaroo world, there's even a CD drama, a 1-hour retelling of what happens in the game, slightly further stretched out in narrative between songs, featuring some awesome artwork by 326 yet again. I just love everything about this game. It's as addicting as Parappa and makes me want to just dive all in. There's actually a connection between Parappa and Gitaroo, by the way. In 2017, the director of Gitaroo, Keiichi Yano, and the director of Parappa, Masaya Matsuda, teamed up with their dev teams to create something called Project Rap Rabbit. It was a fusion of the battle system mixed with what seems to be a choice system set in a long-gone era. It was supposed to come out on PS4, made on Unreal 4, but it's been canceled. Their mistake was setting a Kickstarter goal of over $1 million. Matsuda claims that was a higher-up issue, but it certainly killed what could have been a dream team. And I mean, what game that came out around then could actually sell on a budget that high? Oh, right. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one when I inevitably talk about more rhythm games.